Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to NPU Live. I'm Keri Rodriguez.
And I'm Tim Langen.
So nice to see you, and we'll get this adjusted there. It is a wonderful Wednesday morning, so glad to have you with us. It is May the 6th,
That's
2020.
Right. That's right.
And so, Tim, lot to report this morning, lot to get into this morning.
Let's just jump right into the news so we can get to our guest today. This is a little bit cool out there today. We're going to start talking about the normal daily COVID-19 report. Right now, we're up to 1.2 million cases, 1.2 million confirmed cases with 72,000, a little bit over 72,000 deaths in the U.S., unfortunately. Strangely, complementing that story is President Trump is announced that he is going to direct Vice President Pence to wind down the coronavirus task force.
Even as we see some different areas of the country popping up.
That's right.
As hot spots, as they are starting to open up.
That's right.
Little bit difficult to understand the rationale there. We can understand, people being impatient.
That's right.
Wanting the country to open up, but until it's backed by science, erring on the side of caution are most parents and families, if they can. A lot of our families, unfortunately, in the circumstance where, you've got to go back to work. And so it's a struggle. A fascinating piece this morning, I think, inspired by some of the conversations we've been having with the National Parents Union and the National Parents Council in the Black Wall Street Times. Nehemiah Frank, one of our leaders and one of the members of the National Parents Council, our governing body, writing a piece asking folks whether or not they're ready to send their kids back to school come the fall. We are certainly having conversations in the National Parents Union about what that should look like for families, what it should look like when we are ready to send our kids back into public buildings, because it's very fascinating in this moment, watching policymakers, deciding what their conditions should look like. We as parents and families having a very important conversation around what it needs to look like for us to be able to trust.
That's right.
So Nehemiah having that conversation this morning with many people across the country, sending that out through the Black Wall Street Times, talking about an equity-infused educational recovery, making sure whatever planning is happening actually takes into account not just opening the doors, but what it needs to look like health-wise for us to be assured that things are safe. Also, what it needs to look like from an equity lens, and making sure that whatever we do and however we decide to plan, making sure that we're not just going back to the status quo, and we're not just going back to how things used to be, because frankly, how things used to be not really working for a lot of our children. So how we have an equity-infused recovery is going to be the subject of conversation for this organization and for parents and families across the country. And Nehemiah doing incredible work putting that up this morning. We're going to make sure that you can weigh in on that conversation through the Black Wall Street Times. I'm going to put that up right now.
That's great. And I know what my answer is if you told me I had to send my kids back to school. But again, just like our question yesterday, I'd like to pose it to the parents and the viewers right now. If you were told right now you have to send your kids back to school in September, what would your reaction be?
Very, very interesting.
Please.
So, Tim, we did have a question yesterday around whether or not you were calling the police on those who were not covering up, not adhering to social distancing. So what was the verdict?
I'll be honest with you, we were split. I didn't get as much reaction as I thought I would. I think I might have to tweak the framing of the question there.
Our friend Fergal O'Toole, a little biased in the way the question was posted.
One person got two reactions. One was like, put on a mask. You are harming others. And the other one compared it to a fascist state where, you are reporting on your friends and family. I know, me personally, again, I held off a little bit yesterday. But again, I keep talking about having two young boys and two 74-year-old parents who live upstairs, not 75.
That's
right,
74,
I've been reminded. Parents, and I'm not gonna lie, there's a couple of times where Staples and good old Citizens Bank.
Yes.
Who, we're not wearing masks, we're not wearing gloves, And here in Somerville, Massachusetts, we call up the old 311. And we say, you know what? I'm worried about other people. That printing section in Staples is a little bit of a petri dish.
And people really just being irresponsible on top of each other. And, you know, I don't know. If you want to say who's the social distancing informant, that would be me. I'm an informant. If, you know, parks are crowded, things are getting crazy, people are being irresponsible, I have picked up the phone and called. And I don't apologize for that. I'm very concerned about folks that aren't taking this seriously and are not adhering to guidelines. I think it's really, really important that in this moment, we put our humanity and our families first.
I agree.
You know, we will catch up educationally. We will catch up, you know, economically. We'll have to figure this out. And you see people stepping up to the plate all the time. The one thing that we cannot get back would be lives lost. And I think there's a lot of people that just take it very, I just take it for granted that they're healthy. I mean, we're actually having in the city of Boston a number of city councilors testing positive now. Right. Michelle Wu, the former city council president, testing positive for COVID-19. She had no symptoms whatsoever. Right. She was just randomly selected for testing. Yep. And she's positive. Liz Miranda, state representative, representing a huge chunk of Boston, also testing positive for COVID-19. Almost her entire family testing positive. Luckily, they have mild cases, but you know, you don't know in this moment. And you know, unfortunately, if you're Michelle Wu and you're walking around and you're positive, it's not just about you. It's about if you bump into Tim, which, you know, if we weren't social distancing, could be a possibility. You could bump into Michelle Wu. Yeah. You could walk back in this house and then your parents would be exposed to it. And it's about thinking through. It's not just about yourself. And that's what's so upsetting about seeing some of this stuff.
So don't get me wrong. I'm not yelling at people from my porch. But I'm giving them an eye though. I'm giving them an eye though. But, you know, for businesses especially, you know better. Pull it together.
All got to be in this.
Pull it together, there, Staples.
Jose is actually weighing in on some of this. As an education leader, my recommendation is to have us all continue distance learning until January. One of our hosts of Dad to Dad, he's now actually there. He's actually running food distribution. We talked about Jose's work right now. It's Escondido Charter School, I believe, that he is doing kind of their own version of Uber Eats. Dropping off food distribution, extraordinary work. But he's
doing incredible work. He's getting out there. He's helping his community every day.
And he's saying here now at work with our daily food distribution, he's the unofficial CCO, Chief Coronavirus Officer, making sure that employees are wearing their masks and gloves. So I like that. CCO, I like that one. I like that officer, one. You know, Jose is out there and he's making sure that people are adhering to restrictions so that they can continue to do their work.
Yes, he is.
And keep people safe. So thanks for checking in, Jose. We want to hear from you too. Are you, again, we're going to keep that question alive. Are you giving the side eye to people not adhering to social distancing? Are you taking it for granted? What's your approach right now? And then the question put out by the Wall Street Times, are you thinking about what reopening school looks like and what are you going to be comfortable with? And what are your terms and conditions? We're hearing from policymakers. Again, I find it fascinating. I like to hear from parents. AEI, in conjunction with a bunch of education policymakers, educators, putting out, a plan for, what folks are thinking about. No parents included, no parent advocacy groups included in that. Just, nope. We're going to open the schools. This is what we're going to do to your kids. Hope you're ready for it, parents. I don't think so. So we're convening a group of parent activists and advocates across the country so we can also make sure that the voices of parents and families and what we're expecting is incorporated into that plan. So we want to hear from you.
That's right. Since we're on the topic of things lacking common sense today, again, it's all COVID. Unfortunately, it's all COVID news right now. The New York State, unfortunately, will be having its Democratic presidential primary on my birthday, by the way, June 23rd, in case you're wrondering.
Write it down.
Write it down.
Very special day.
That's right. Best day ever. Following a judge's ruling in favor of an injunction related to a lawsuit that was brought by ex-Democratic presidential candidate Andrew Yang.
Andrew Yang, what is wrong with you, brother? You know what? We're going to call two of our friends, Shavar Jeffries, who actually went to graduate school with Andrew Yang from Democrats for Education Reform, who's on this show, and Andy Stern, who is a wonderful friend of ours. He's our mentor. He's like our just chief advisor of the National Parents Union, definite homeboy of Andrew Yang, because they're down with that universal basic income, which was like one of the main planks of his platform running for president was UBI, and Andy Stern wrote a whole book about it. So they are very tight. Andy, Shavar, call your boy. What is up with that? Why are we having a presidential primary? This thing is done.
Yeah, it had actually been canceled last week because the Democratic board figured there's only one candidate. You know, I don't live in New York anymore. I can't run. I'm sorry. But there's only. I was thinking about it, but the only candidate on there was Joe Biden, and he wanted to prevent any coronavirus outbreaks.
Yeah, because Lord knows we need another white male in this race.
We need
another white male in this race.
This anti-Mayo sentiment is not flying.
Anyway, but Andrew, come on, dude. Like, what is up? Like, you know. Yeah. You're getting the side eye from me because you're not adhering to helping us stay safe.
I feel like I'm saying a lot of news this week, and then there's like I have like a pregnant pause. I have no reaction to it because I got nothing.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I got nothing. I don't get it. I don't get it. You know, I'm just the guy doing the thing here. Anyway, speaking of Dad to Dad, which meets every Thursday at 4 p.m. Tune into the rest of our shows as well. Again, we meet daily at 9 a.m. We have our Spanish show on at noon with Christina Laster, managing day to day at 2 p.m. Marisol Arusha ends our day at 9 p.m. And throughout the week, we also have Bernita with A Parent Voice as well that meets on Fridays as well.
And I want to tease something that's coming up next week. Can I tease it? Can I tease it?
You teasing what I think you're teasing?
Yeah.
There's a lot coming up next week.
There is a lot.
So I wonder if you got teased the same thing.
Okay.
Go ahead. There you go. Go ahead.
Well, is it next week? It's May 15th. I'm very, very excited. We are going to do something unprecedented, the National Parents Union. We're going worldwide. Not that we aren't now, but really worldwide, welcoming our friends from Parenting Forum, who are going to help us reach, you know, into Africa, into China, into the United Kingdom, all over the place to celebrate the International Day of Families. And so we're going to be welcoming them as partners in our broadcast, reaching international audiences. We'll be broadcasting in English, in Spanish, in French, in Cantonese? Mandarin. German, who knows, everything, every language you can imagine, broadcasting right from the National Parents Union, joining the international community, an international day of celebrating families of all different shapes and sizes and colors, and it's going to be wonderful. So we're really excited about that. A lot of work from the staff of the National Parents Union going into this unprecedented broadcast, reaching millions and millions. We reach, you know, millions of folks just here in the United States. Imagine what that's going to look like internationally.
Algeria. That's right. All thanks to you'll be meeting our friends, Eve and Jamal from Parents Forum.
Arabic,
it's going to be great.
We're going to be broadcasting in Arabic as well. Getting that as well. So just
it's going to be a busy day.
Be an extraordinary day. So very excited.
That's right. So check out Parents Forum on Facebook, and I'll paste that link up as well.
Yes, very excited.
That's great. Well, I think we've got a busy week, so I need to get through it, and I need some tips.
That's right.
Because the boys are showing up.
That's right.
I got to go pick them up at 2:30 today, and I need help.
That's right. Wednesday is the best day ever. Let's turn to Austin, Texas. Our friend Mira Brown from Prepared Parents is joining us once again. We love Mira and her tips every single day. You can get them in your email box by going to preparedforsuccess.org or preparedparents.org. And then you'll get them in advance. But we're lucky we get to talk to Mira all the time. Mira, how are you? How was your day?
Yesterday was a really good day, actually. I sort of sat down a little. I mean, I was exhausted at the end of the day, but that's just how it is, right? But at the end of the day, I was like, oh, there's no yelling. I didn't like make a run for it in my car like I did on Monday. Like,
Hey, we didn't hate that idea because you know what we did last night? We hopped in the car and we were like, we need to see something else. Even if you can't walk it, we need to see it. So we actually drove down to Wollaston Beach in Quincy, Massachusetts, and we drove by the beach.
We drove by the beach. We didn't get out. We didn't walk on the beach, but we said, hey, there's the beach.
Yep. And the windows were down and my hair was free. I was channeling my inner Mira. So you really inspired us.
Blowing in the air.
You know, and then we went and got a Kelly's roast beef sandwiches, which is what we
drive through
the drive-through.
And then after we did that, we took a nice on and on, off again 12-hour nap.
Yeah. Kind of knocked us asleep at 7 o'clock because I think all that sea air we hadn't had.
Sea air and roast beef. Yep.
Yeah, so we fell asleep and woke up this morning. So not a lot of the chores and the cleaning that we had planned to get done got done.
It's pretty nasty. It's okay.
That sounds amazing. Like I want your day.
But it was inspired by you, Mira. Like we needed a break. So
I think that probably helped yesterday be a better day. And then honestly, I feel horrible saying this. I feel like one day, Gabriel, my older son's gonna look back and be like, how did you share so much online about my life with everyone? But, you know, like, but I feel like maybe Monday, having just like called it on Monday, made yesterday just that much easier. I don't know, he was in a better place. And in fairness, like I actually followed through on some of the things that we supposed, his visual schedule, like checking in, setting, like there were just certain things that made the day better. So it was a great day. I will say here in Austin, to your earlier conversation, so I'm not someone who like calls on people, but I am a rule follower. And so so I get very bothered because to me, it's like simply unfair, you know, like it's like it's a fairness factor to me. And it's like, if I have to be tortured, so do you.
If I'm dragging my kids down the street saying, keep your mask on, don't run at those people, stay away, and you're not putting the effort in, that drives me.
Can you stay away? Can you participate and help us?
Help me out.
But I also think like here in Austin, again, you know, we've talked about how we're one of the states that's opening up, but there's just a ton of confusion about what that actually means sort of day-to-day life. And sort of on my drive yesterday, it really was the first time, like I was sort of got behind the wheel, like, do I still know how to do this? Like it was my first time sort of in a car in 2 months. And I was driving around and I was like struck by like, are people with kids, are parents just living a fundamentally different life right now than people who don't? Because like people were out, like I sat back, I was like, wait, I'm stuck in my house educating my, you know, like, it just feels like there's this dual realities happening right now. And it like struck me this week of just how a friend was telling me she had to go run an errand and the stores, like little boutiques. And I appreciate small business and I get all that, but like, we're full of people buying. And I was like, wait, what? You know? And so and I think of Monday wanting to make a run for it. And I'm like, we're living a different life as parents.
And like even just last night. So like we did, like, I think it was the first time where we just like went for a ride. Cause I don't know, when you said that yesterday, it just didn't occur to me that you could get on your car and take a ride somewhere. You didn't have to get out. So like we're in the car, we're driving, like, and I'm seeing all of these people just like, you know,
living life,
mask, all of this stuff. And then we get back, right? And, you know, we live in the city. Like you open up the window, you're going to see a house like right there. It's like, like this is concrete paradise here. So we get back and like literally maybe 1 block away is this awesome place called Taco Loco. And yesterday was Tuesday and it was Cinco de Mayo. So like, you know, white gentrifiers are gonna go nuts.
Right? We were all out at the places, yes.
Yeah. It's Taco Tuesday and it's Cinco de Mayo, so like it
was around the corner.
Family.
And if I can just step in there for a second, I grew up back in the day when people looked at me. I was the only white gentrifier in Taco Loco 20 years ago.
Gentrifier. And I would about the hipsters and the beards and the
Taco Loco, shout out if they want to sponsor us. They are so good and they are so cheap. So I get they are so good. But I am not going to sacrifice the lives of my family for the
Mira, there was a line all the way down the street of like people like, and they were not 6 feet apart. I'm sorry, they were not 6 feet apart.
There was a police detail.
There was a police detail because so many people were lined up to get their Taco Tuesday, Cinco de Mayo tacos. And I was like, what life are you living that like this is, you have like an hour to wait in a line for tacos during a pandemic on Cinco de Mayo. Like, I don't know.
It is yesterday also my kids, so my son's school's closed indefinitely, we know that, the public schools, but my toddler who's 2, sort of daycare was going back and forth, and so then it was like, we'll open, we won't open, and it was okay, we're gonna open May 11th, and like Ben and I had to do sort of the analysis, like what do we send, and for our own sanity, for Gabriel's, for work, like all of these decisions you have to make as you're making right now. Like we're individually making really tough decisions. And so like we had sort of gotten on board with like, we're going to send him because for a whole multitude of reasons that make sense for a family, but we're going to keep social distancing ourselves, all of this stuff. Like we had talked about it. And then they sent an email that were like, just kidding, we're not opening. And on the one hand, like I understand. And then on the other hand, I was like, but that was my ray of hope. And so you just like, as a parent, we are just fundamentally living a different reality right now. And that's it. Right. And so anyway, so our day yesterday was wonderful, but to your point, I'm not certainly the person who's like calling, people, calling police or whatever, but like, I am such a rule follower that for me, it strikes like a fairness chord of like, it's just like, we need to be in this together. It is just only fair, exactly. And so.
Because like, I honestly, like, I don't like, well, and frankly, this is going to be my bias. Like, I won't call the cops on Black and brown folks. I just won't do it. Like, there's just like, I don't care what you're doing. Like, I generally won't do that because there's just too much at stake.
Yep.
But I really like when it comes to social distancing and there's a bunch of folks in the park, like I'm not going to call the cops. I am going to call 311 and file I am going to be that person to be like,
well, I've said things, I've gone up to people and said, hey, you guys are not social distancing. To your point, like I try to like, but now I'm getting a little worried that people, like you hear these stories of like the person here in Austin, like push the ranger into, like, I'm getting a little worried that people are getting, there's like a news story that a park ranger, like broke up a gathering of young adults here like 20-year-olds here in I think in Austin. And he got like physically like pushed into the water or like something. And so there's a part of me is like, maybe it's not like there's a safety thing now too, that like we are also, I don't know. So I'm with you, Keri. Anyway, our tip for today.
2 things I know. Go online, sign up for preparedforsuccess.org and then put they both take under 5 seconds.
That's right. Tim actually did a how-to, how quickly you could just put on your mask. Come on.
Monday.
We have them.
They're by our front door and our back door.
Socks. I'm going to show people how to do with my underwear.
Oh, that's
boxer briefs. You can do it.
You think he's joking?
I've learned in the last 2 months to know that he's not joking, Keri.
If you have boxer briefs that are too small, make sure they're washed.
I'm not the one who thought of it. We'll be there tomorrow. So Mira, how do you get through your day? My kids are going to be here at 2:30. I'm out of practice. What do I do?
So I wanted to talk about confidence today. We alluded to this last week in our mattering, how to help kids figure out what they care about and how they matter and all of that. And confidence was in there. And in doing that work, I personally just got like really interested in what confidence is, what it isn't, and sort of the science behind it. And I'll be honest, like this one, we've had parents ask us, how do I help my kid like build their confidence? And I think part of that is sort of as we're living through COVID-19 and stay at home, I think on the one hand, we're just seeing our kids more closely and more clearly in sort of different scenarios. And we're thrown into something that we've never been thrown into, right? And so we're all reacting in very different ways. And this one was also personal, which is why I really wanted to do this tip, because I've already been told my son's a kindergartner, and I've been told multiple times that, from his teachers and others that, he really struggles with confidence. And it just like terrifies me that my 6-year-old, almost 7-year-old is struggling with something that feels so critical and important, right, to who he becomes and his future success. And so that's where this comes from, parents asking and all of that. And so I wanted to dive into first, like what confidence is before I get to sort of because I think that's really interesting before I get to what we can do, very practical things we can do as parents. And so confidence is, and this was actually new to me. So confidence is a belief in your abilities. And I think it's what you're good at doing, a belief in what you can actually do. And it pertains to very specific skills, right? So it's not an overall, I'm confident in myself, certainly, but it's like, I'm confident in my ability to do math, but I may not be confident in my ability to write an essay, for example, right? Like you don't, just because you have self-confidence doesn't mean sort of it's instilled across everything. It's very like skill specific. And I think the difference here is it's not actually a high opinion of yourself. You can have a high self-esteem. You can believe you are the best thing in the world. That is not self-confidence, because it's a high opinion, again, in your abilities, not in who you are and in yourself. And I think that that's important to note, because when it comes to academic performance, which at the end of the day, this is a lot of what we talk about, right? Confidence, not self-esteem, not an opinion of yourself, confidence in your abilities is a much stronger predictor of your kid's success. And so I just wanted to point that out, because I think for me, that was an aha moment of like, oh, wait, like, so it's not just like a general, I feel good about myself. And those are all super important, but self-confidence is about what you can do, your ability. And it's important because the more confident you are in your ability to do something, the more likely you're actually to do it well. And I want to be super clear. This is not like, oh, if I believe it, I can, type of thing. And because you believe it doesn't mean it's guaranteed that all of a sudden I believe I'm a good writer, therefore it's guaranteed I'm going to be a good writer. No, like you have to put in the work, you have to write, but it's a predictor that you'll actually get there, which is why we want to build it in our kids and certainly in ourselves. Sadly, like studies show that as our kids get older, they actually start fairly confident, except for apparently my 6-year-old, but like as the studies show that like they actually, confidence fades, right? And I think a lot of that's like perfectionism, it's competitiveness, people pleasing. There's just a lot in life, right? Our kids face today that go down, girls especially. So what are the practical things you can actually do as a parent every single day? The first is praise the effort on and not sort of the result or the outcome or the fixed trait. And so I catch myself constantly, I have to stop myself midway through a sentence. And here's the difference, right? Like praising an effort. I'm impressed with all the hard work you put into that project, or you put into X, right? Whatever that might be, because that's connected to the kid's intrinsic motivation, right? Like that behavior is personally rewarding then to your child. Praising a result versus praising a result. You got an A. What does that actually mean to, like, yes, that's great, right? But you got an A. Or the trait, you're so smart. Like, okay, well, that's about an innate, like, you being smart is success based on sort of an innate quality versus, and who they are, right? So they start defining themselves by you're so smart versus I tried this, I put effort into this, I grew in this way. And like, where do you grow from there?
Interesting. I have been trying of late to be careful about language I use with my kids, like especially around that mattering piece, saying like, I noticed this about you. I noticed that you thought really deeply about that, or I noticed that you care a lot, or I noticed that you have this feeling, or it seems to like, not so much about like what, again, as you're saying, that end result, but like, I noticed that you did all of these things that got you to this place. So
exactly. What they put into it versus the outcome, because that's where the learning is, right? Like you got an A or the output, like there's no growth. Where do you grow from there? You get another A, right? Like, and that's not necessarily who they are, right? And so, but what you're talking about, Keri, that one of the interesting things is like, we have to be a mirror for our kids, right? We are the ones that plant those seeds of confidence. right? And so when you mirror back what you're seeing, right, and then you connect that, you praise that, right, that effort or whatever it might be, you're making that connection for them, right? You're helping them to see themselves and connect something they did to an ability, right, that they have, and to their ability to actually do it and do it well and grow in it, right? And you're planting that seed of confidence for them.
And I think that too helps them manage anxiety, at least my kiddos as well. I'm fresh off a brand new IEP, annual evaluation yesterday, where we were kind of talking through a piece of this, but talking about like even just scheduling for, you know, our kids who have autism and ADHD, how, you know, not just putting the emphasis on, like, let's say you've got a packet or assignments or whatever it is, not just saying, well, you've got to finish this. It's about like, can you have a 20-minute period where you're focused on this?
Right.
And oh, I noticed that you sat down and you applied your schedule and you followed through, and how important all of those skills are, not just the act again of just you finished this or you got an A or you did well. It's about, you know, if it is important that we teach them some of these executive functioning skills and whatnot, that we, you know, we celebrate those wins that might not be like a quantifiable, you got it done or you got an A.
Exactly.
It matters.
Because then they're not going to try new things either if you don't do that, right? You have to celebrate those wins, because again, just because your child might, again, it's a belief in my ability that I'm good at doing something, doesn't mean, number one, I'm going to be guaranteed at actually doing it well, and I'm going to hit roadblocks and I'm going to hit bumps along the way, right? But so you need to plant those small, sort of celebrate those small wins for the motivation factor to keep, right, to keep growing, to keep trying, to keep doing. And that celebrating those small wins, to your point, along the way, will help build that confidence versus the like, oh, I can't do it, I suck at this, I don't know what I'm doing, right? Like those feelings of self-doubt.
I think it just doesn't happen. I'm sorry to interrupt you there. Like
please go.
It's to get to that achievement. I don't mean to go off on a little rant here because I know we're short on time, but you ever listen to the Mark Maron podcast?
No.
I love this show because it'll take a musician or an artist and it goes, or a writer, and it goes through the person's career. So Martin Scorsese did not just become Martin Scorsese, right? Bruce Springsteen did not just become Bruce Springsteen. There is a journey to that. And it'll go through all the little pieces this person learned to get to that final product.
Because when it comes to self-confidence, I think like in our heads, and we all do this, where it's just like you think that somebody just like walked out on stage and was suddenly Bruce Springsteen.
No.
It wasn't all of the practice and the heartbreak and the journey and all of that.
There's hard work involved.
Like, how do we get there? Like, if that's our goal, you know, because I think where the self-confidence comes into it is like, assuming that, you know, you're just instantly brilliant and you're either brilliant or you're not. And
you're so smart.
Right. You know?
Yep.
Well, why are you so smart? And so exactly. And oh, by the way, then when I don't get that A, or I'm not, or someone doesn't say I'm so smart, do I believe I'm able to do something, right? Like, where's my ability to stand on my own 2 feet? And how do we instill that in our kids, right? And so that is where, to your point, and it's really hard. Like, don't get me, like, I catch myself constantly because like Gabriel does something, I want to be like, you're amazing, you're so smart. Mara, take a step back, right? You know, and so because that's what I heard as a kid growing up too. Although maybe I didn't hear you're so smart all the time, but like I heard other, you know, my parents tried, you know, and so like, but I think that everything you're saying is spot on and exactly right. And the other side of that, by the way, just sort of the last thing, and this happens a lot, and I have to catch myself also in my family, is the negative self-talk. Like, you got to ban it. Like, and I know that feels very extreme and it's really hard, but they're confidence destroyers, you know? And so like, I have to catch my brother constantly. He'll say out loud, like, God, I'm so slow, I can't do that. And I'm like, stop saying that in front. And I do it too, right? But it's taken me years of my husband being like, stop saying those things in front of the kids. Like, you are mirroring the wrong and modeling the wrong, right? The wrong behaviors. And oh, by the way, especially if you're saying that about, you know, why can't you do that? You know, so you're so lazy, or, you know, just pick yourself, like all of these things that we say, again, go back, like do our confidence destroyers and sort of undo all of the hard work of what we're trying to do. And that's not to say that you can't offer feedback and you can't say, hey, let's try harder next time, or I'd really appreciate it if you could please help me and be a responsible member of this. Like, there are other ways to say it, which are really hard in that emotional moment, but they are confidence destroyers.
Well, Mira, thank you so much. This is great. And again, I genuinely love these sessions. I really take, I know we say this to every guest, but I really do take every little tip you have, and it brings me into my day.
Yes, it helps us so much. So Mira, we're so grateful for you.
I appreciate you both. I'll see you tomorrow.
I can't wait.
All right. Mira Brown joining us live from Austin, Texas. Prepared Parents is the organization she heads. Preparedforsuccess.org is how you find her and sign up for her tips every morning.
She's great.
Speaking of wonderful moms, Karim Maroto is joining us from Fairfax Station, Virginia. She is another mama on a mission. She is the founder of mompossible.org, which is an organization I can get behind. Mom Possible. Definitely. I love it. And folks who are fans of our Spanish broadcast that happens every day at noontime will already know Karim. And we're so happy that she's with us this morning. Good morning to you, honey. How are you?
Buenos dias.
Yes.
You guys are so fun. I have been laughing so hard watching you all. You are amazing.
Well, you know what? We are just moms and dads, trying to get through this thing. So we are so happy to be connected with folks across the country where we can just be real and bare our hearts and what we struggle with and try to figure this thing out together.
Well, I'm going to tell you, you guys are keeping it real. I love you guys. You guys are amazing. Your message is amazing. And I just was taking notes about what Mira was saying. Amazing tips.
I'm telling you, and go to her website.
Yeah, I just did and save it.
Wonderful. She's going to love to hear that. That's fantastic. And we do. We take things away from her every single day that we apply, and it works. This whole concept of mattering and making sure our kids know that they matter, it's fundamental. Or just reading to them for 20 minutes, like just spending that 20 minutes in reading. If you don't do anything else today, just spend that 20 minutes and they're going to be fine. They're going to be just fine. We got this. So tell us about Mom Possible. This is amazing. Tell us about, first and foremost, we got to get into how you are handling this as a mama, because you have 3 babies.
I have 3. Well, let me tell you, the ages are 17, 15, and 10. Mm-hmm. I am a mom that also homeschool. So I have homeschooled them all over the years, but I also am a working mom. I came to this country when I was 18 and basically have worked my way up and find, my life has been ups and downs. So, it's another thing that I have to face. But life is going. The time, we are living in different circumstances, but one thing is that the time is not stopping. It's just keep going. So, I have been trying, it has been a transition trying to figure out more work for me because I also teach online. I have my own company, and I also work for HSLDA, which is the founders of the organization, amazing organization that is there just to help moms and parents, just to give them tips. How do you make it? Until things get back to the new normal, right? Because it doesn't feel like it's going to be normal anymore. But, I am there. I have my kids. I have one going to college. So we have been preparing, like, life is, life keeps going. You are going to go to college. We don't know how exactly it's going to be. But we are just, she's still looking at her new schedule, what classes she's going to take. So we have been trying to keep things inside our house like the most normal as possible. My son, he needs to keep working his projects. He still needs to pass the classes. And my daughter, my younger one, I decided, we were behind in some stuff. So let's use this time to catch up and start learning new things that we didn't have time to learn before.
Karen, I've got to ask you, you're so far ahead of all of us because you've got this down. You made a decision for your kids that you're going to homeschool. So you like, this is normal for you. Like kids are going to do, you guys have this down. And that is why it is such a blessing in this moment that we can like come to you and ask you for guidance and tips and all of this stuff. So I got to ask you a personal question as a mom.
Yeah.
So I got to tell you, I'm a little nervous about what the fall is going to look like, and I'm not sure if I'm ready to send my kids back. So what I'm doing right now is I'm actually looking at alternatives, and I'm looking at online academies, because frankly, like, until there is a vaccine, like, and in that I am blessed that I can work from home. I don't know whether or not the schools, frankly, so many of our schools don't have running water or hot water, or like places where kids, like bathrooms and places where they can wash their hands. People think I'm being crazy. This is actually, life. And then knowing my little boys, how they're on top of it, I just don't know that I'm ready as a parent to
Yes,
try.
and your fear is valid, because you basically, our kids are going to be the first experiment. When you do something new, you're going to find out what works and what does not work. And and I understand, I feel the same thing with my daughter. It's like, I'd rather the university to say to her, we're just going online the first semester, or some universities are saying we're just going to take the fall off. So and I'm okay with that, because overall, like your husband and you were saying, safety, healthy is for health is first, right? That's something that you can't get back if you lose it. So I completely understand, and I think you're doing the right thing. You're opening your mind to possibilities. I would be like you saying, what if, yes, you're doing plan A, plan B, and plan C, and we are teaching our kids to be flexible. And and during this time, I noticed that I am being not just a mom, I have to be the leader. That means that I cannot expect the government to tell me this is the plan, or even, whatever it is, or anybody. It's like you are, and I learned this, parents are the best lawyers for their own kids. Nobody's going to advocate and make the best decisions as the parents. And that's where Moms Possible try to encourage moms and parents. It's like, hey, you taught them how to use the bathroom, so don't worry, you got this.
We are the first teachers, and we should be confident in that we can do this, right?
Yeah, and one of the thing is, if you, I don't know if this will help you, what Mira was saying about, about how sometimes the system that we're used to, the system gives us the confidence, like the grades, the feedback, and everything. Teachers are wonderful. I was a public school teacher for 16 years, so I was in the public school setting. I love my students, I love the classroom, I miss that. So I know the pressures and the things that our students go through, and parents do, because everybody wants the kids to be ahead, on top of things, not behind. But I gotta tell you something. I learned something with my kids as a homeschoolers. They grew up knowing that grades are not important. Well, what's important is, do you understand it? Do you know how to do this? And the kids, I have an overachiever. She is like, she needs testing to tell her that she's great. And it was funny because she's like, okay, here's the mom, look at all, like, excellent. But it never was an over thing, like, oh my goodness, you're the best, because I have 3 different kids, and the 3 kids learn different, and the kids, they produce different. So this is one of those times where we need to find ways for our kids to find their gifts, our kids to find who they are, because if they understand who they are, they just knowing who they are is already put them on top of everything. When I learned so much through the college process with my daughter, it were like years of preparing for that moment when she was going to go to college. Now you need to understand, I'm first generation immigrant. So my kids are second, right? So there are a lot of insecurities that came. Look, my English is not good. I have an accent. My kids know it, like they knew. I never, went through to doing this like I knew it all. And my attitude has been, I don't know it. I need help, and I need to find the best resources for my kids. So, but one of the things that I wanted to share with you is that I discovered that colleges are not looking for great scores or great GPAs. At the end of the day, what really made the difference for my daughter was, what was her story? So our children, we need to focus on making sure as the days go by, as the years go by, that our children are writing their own story. And one,
what makes up an interesting story? Tell us more about that.
you know, one of the things that makes a different story is your real story. You know, when I was listening through what you guys are experiencing, you have your parents living with you. You know, that's an interesting story because your children are learning how to live with grandparents and mom working from home and all of those things that, you know, my daughter is going to study engineering, biomedical, and is considering to be an oncologist. Why? Because grandma went through cancer, lung cancer. Aunt went through cancer too. So that story, you know, taking what is happening and making sure we understand, we process, we embrace our experiences are part of the story. For example, another story that make her compelling was that she basically told in her essays how being the first on everything, first learning to play piano because nobody else in her family played piano, first being the person to enjoy and love science and math because, you know, my husband, he's in the construction field and I'm a Spanish teacher. So, you know, so just that, she just learned how to put all these components about being the first, about the experiences. Also, we go to a Hispanic church, and you know, so my kids, you know, they we are Hispanics, but my kids in their mind, they're not just Hispanics. They embrace being you know, USA citizens, being from here. So they're like, yes, I'm Hispanic, but mom, remember, I'm from United States. Yeah, yes, we understand that. But also she wrote in her story how she enjoyed playing the piano and singing Spanish songs in the church because she never, like, she knew, like, when she will start playing the piano and people start singing in Spanish, she just say it was so nice to see how Hispanics love singing in Spanish. So she understood. So, you know, it's small things, you know, that we need to make sure our kids are noticing that are happening to them. Learn, you know, I used to tell them since they were in middle school, we have a Google folder and we just call it essay stories, because the thing is, if we don't record what happened to us, we will forget. Yeah. So, and I would recommend that, like, you know, my son, he's struggling with time management right now. And that's going to be part of his story right now. And, you know, don't try to present yourself like you are a superhero, perfect person. They want to know about your imperfections. And, you know, our family has a lot. So she didn't write out stories.
Well, it's about your triumph, about how you figure it out, how you overcome it, all of those things, because those are really important things in college. You're going to have new challenges and new ideas and new people and new personalities, and having the ability just to figure it out is critically important. Like, and having that, you know, although I hate when people talk about grit and all of, you know, not that we don't need it, but like quantifying it, but that is a thing that you need to have and be able to demonstrate that you can overcome, you can persevere, you can figure it out. It's not just about the end goal and what you achieved, but how you got there.
Yes. You know what Mira was sharing about confidence and how we need to make sure that translates into specific things our children can accomplish. I cannot tell you how much I agree with her, because, you know, I was the type of mom that I wanted my kids to do everything, to experience everything and do everything. And I think my husband kind of ran with the show for a couple of years, but then he's like, this is not working for us. It's not working regarding time, money, and also the kids are doing everything but nothing, you know. And I think having that conversation with our husband is like, as we discover who our kids were and what they like doing, we started focusing on really putting more and investing more in their strengths. And I'm gonna tell you that's where my daughter, we discovered, you know, I wanted her to dance ballet and it was a disaster. I wanted her to do gymnastics, it was a disaster. So we decided, you know, as we discovered she's good at science and math, we started putting more effort and putting investment in that, and it paid off, you know. And right now, you know,
yeah, a lot of is actually taking a look at who your kid is, what they like and what they enjoy. Because I know as parents, like, especially if you grew up not having a lot of those experiences, or you know, just feeling like you always wanted to try. Sometimes we try to live vicariously through our kids. And I try to be really mindful because I'm one of those mamas. I want them to experience everything I didn't have a chance to experience, and, you know, have every resource I could give to them. But you know what? You know, sometimes kids just don't like baseball. You know, sometimes kids just, you know, don't like swimming, or sometimes they just don't like karate, or sometimes they really do, you know, and it's about, you know, not living, you know, and forcing your kid into everything so that they're getting an inch deep on all of these experiences. But like, what do they really enjoy? What lights them up? What makes them happy, so that, you know, they're actually advancing and moving forward in these things that give them joy, because that's a really important.
You know, and I encourage parents during this time to just take this time, because, you know, we were maybe used to having them busy all the time. And now we are making them feel like, okay, there is not all these activities and places that we could go before. Now you have to figure it out what to do next. So, you know, and I told my kids when we were facing this, because, you know, we have been inside for so long. It's like, this is the time to you produce something, come up with something. You know, don't wait. And, you know, talking about end of, you know, what is the end result if you want your children to go to college. Now, not everybody is preparing the kids to go to college, because every kid has different gifts. But, you know, the end result is that, you know, college should want to know what your kids were able to create and produce at their level. You know, and so in this case, you know, volunteering because you are doing things that are meaningful to you. And I have seen some of my students that they didn't have the opportunity. So guess what? They created their own opportunity. They did not wait for somebody to tell them, here is your internship opportunity, do something. No, they answered to a need that they have in their own, and they created their own opportunity. So this is an excellent time to teach our kids to produce something, be creative, create your own story, do your own drawing, do your own painting, do your own exercises, you know, do something, create something.
I love it. Karim Maroto joining us from mompossible.com.
.org.
I'm sorry, I have it that's .com, but .org. You can find her and her website, her information there. It was so wonderful to have you here today and getting us thinking outside the box. So wonderful. We hope to talk to you again soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So wonderful to have her join with us. And now we have another extraordinary mama. We have a morning of extraordinary moms joining us, Deborah Garrett, who is a parent, speaker, and advocate. She's also a former city councilor in Troy, New York. We're going to check in with New York to see how they're doing today. And she's joining us. Hello, Miss Garrett. How are you? So nice to see you.
I'm good, and yourself? How are you?
Good. You know, your pink is giving me joy this morning. You are just what I need this morning. So nice to see you. How is everything going for you and your family in Troy, New York, and how are you guys making it through?
Well, you know, we're maintaining. My kids are definitely used to always being on the go. We usually leave out 7:20 in the morning, and sometimes not back in the house until 7:30. So this was a major adjustment, but they're pretty good. We're maintaining. I have one child that needs to receive like special services, so we've been trying to keep him on routine and things like that. But you know, so far so good. We're just going with the flow at this point.
You know, it's so funny you say that. We were just reflecting this morning, like how just the time has changed. We used to be up and hustling out the door, trying to make that bell, getting all these kids out. And now it's like, oh, it's 7 o'clock, and now we're just up. Like, this is a whole new world. You know, it's just changed so many different things. But it's nice to have this time, and it's interesting. I love that you've got so many different lenses on this, as you know, as a mama, as someone who's a fighter for her community, as a parent activist and advocate, that you have so many different ways of looking at this in your community. How is Troy getting through this, and what are you seeing? Are you seeing families coming together? How is this working out for your community right now?
What I'm noticing is that there's a lot of people who are stepping up to the plate and trying to make sure that people are getting like food to their homes. My kids' school in particular, they've been doing the school bus driving by and at different locations to deliver food. a group that I work with called Team Hero. One of the guys that oversees it, Jerry Ford, he's delivering pizzas on Wednesday afternoons from Domino's to families. There's another guy who is in my community, Billy Carter, who is giving out pantry food. He's going to people's houses. And then we have the local pantries around that are offering services. And honestly, it's the people that are actually able to help are the ones who usually are the grassroots, the people like me that are normally in the community. We've been just trying to lend our resources as much as possible, even if it's just talking to other parents that are not used to, having to sit down and work with their kids.
Deborah, this is why we really wanted to lift you up this morning, because the National Parents Union, we're a collection of organizations, filled with the doers. We're the folks that go out, we're leaving the lunches, we're dropping off the Easter baskets, we're making sure folks are all right, we're making masks, we're getting out there, because we're directly connected to families. And in this moment, we have seen now a lot of these systems that used to blow us off, saying, you know what, we got it, we'll do our own communication, they need us.
Yes.
And we are formulating new relationships and coming into a new kind of power because they see how much they need us. What has that been like for you, just like seeing, I guess, the realization that these systems that for so long blew us off and said, no, where our engagement is gone, we know families, we know, and suddenly scrambling saying, Ms. Deborah, can you help us? Because we don't have it done. What has that been like for you? And has that been a transition?
It's a blessing, because people that are normally the ones who do the grunt work, I feel like you don't normally get the recognition. So, and a lot of times that can be frustrating when you definitely have like a heart of gold and you just want to help everybody. So during these times, you get to see people really do appreciate the work that you have done or the work that you're doing. For example, I had reached out to my former colleagues on the city council and asked them, can they recognize June as graduation month? I don't care if it's a kid that's graduating from Head Start up into somebody that's graduating from college, because that's being taken away from them and not by choice. So let's celebrate them. Decorate your school fences, decorate your houses, outside your windows. Let's just the whole city celebrate them.
Yeah, and that's why I think voices like yours so connected to the community. I hate that you're not on the city council anymore, because like that perspective and that lens is so important. But I know that you're fighting to make sure that you've got the education, everything you need. Like, I'm looking for you to be governor of New York someday, pretty much. Come on, look, come on now. Come on, when President Governor Cuomo becomes president of the United States, that spot's going to be open. You got to be looking for your next move. Come on.
I like to work in the trenches.
Humble servant. But from that lens, I know you're studying public health. You are so connected to the communities, but you also have those bridges to elected officials right now. How do we hold on to this moment in these connections that we're building right now, where now we know, all of these big institutions of power are seeing how important community level work is? Like, how do we maintain that into the future so that, once we get past this crisis that we're in right now, that there's still that respect for parent advocates, or community organizations, for folks that are connected in the neighborhood, so that we can build from this and turn challenge into opportunity here?
I think the key thing is accountability. Like when people get elected for these positions, they tell us they're going to do X, Y, and Z. And I think a lot of times once they get in, we have a tendency of kind of falling back, because yeah, we got them in, they're going to do their job. And sometimes that doesn't happen like that. So I always tell people, hold people accountable for what they do. I hold my children accountable, you have to hold people accountable for what they say and what they're going to do. And times like this is going to show you who's really trying to uplift the community, especially the Black and brown communities, because it's right now, and it's like it's almost like we're like in a world alone, so you want to make sure we're uplifting people and try to hold people accountable.
Deborah, I think it's so important, and what we're talking about here, I founded my organization here in Massachusetts because I had no idea of the world of her, even just thinking about my own personal experience being expelled from a public school, part of the push out, then watching it start to happen to my babies who have special needs, like from kindergarten. Like, it was it was stunning for me to see how little power, power parents had, and how hard it was to navigate, assist, all of this stuff. And I know that's a passion for you too, the organization you're starting, Parents Speak and Advocate. In this moment, we're seeing that not only do we have to rapid response in the way that you're talking about, but, speaking that truth to power and maintaining those connections and building those bridges, it's important. So as you're starting the organization, and I want to put it out there, like whatever we can do to help from our network of organizations that are doing that work of starting their own advocacy groups, the ones that are established, we're here to be, in fellowship with everybody who's starting to see this need in their community. But what are you saying to parents as you tell them, literally from the name of your organization, speak, advocate? Why is it important for parents to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time and not just take care of their babies and rapid respond to the crisis here, but also learn those skills that they're speaking up and speaking truth to power? Why now in this moment, do you think?
I think for a long time, a lot of parents don't know that they have a voice, right? So, we send our kids to school and it's like, okay, the school is going to take care of everything. And I think this is the time where it's like, you have to rely on what you were taught. That's why I love what the ladies was just saying, the last two women that were speaking. Those generational experiences are so important. I would not be such a mama bear when it comes to my son, Adonis, with like the IEP and knowing the things that he needs to know. So whether for my mother, who was raising my son with cerebral palsy, and my mother literally would have to write a note sometimes for me to go to the IEP meetings and sit there and read off the note. And I'm telling them, my mother said X, Y, and Z because she had to work, raising a child with disabilities and being a single mom and working. So we have to be a voice. We have to be a voice. And this is the perfect time for people to huddle with your family, figure out, you get to see like what things you may not have noticed before in your children, because now you're home and you have to be forced to pretty much help them if you weren't that parent already. So this is the perfect time during this pandemic to invest in your babies. And I'm pushing that for parents. I don't even care about funding. I will help just because I want to make sure that other kids get the resources.
Deborah, as we're so close to Mother's Day, I'm so blessed every day. I get to talk to mamas like you and hear about mamas like your mama who are just fierce advocates and in that fight no matter what. And it makes me think about, so many of us have started these organizations because, we are on the front lines. We do this because we love our kids. We love our baby. This work is not easy, and we get under fire all the time. I mean, thinking about your mom having to be at work, but she wanted to be at that meeting. She wanted her voice to be heard. So often the system beats us up. You don't show up, you don't care enough about your kid because you can't show up on our terms the way we want you to, or at the time we want you to. And so often you hear and it just makes me emotional to think about parents don't care, she doesn't care. And tell me, and this is the second day, this week I'm saying it, a mama that works 2-3 jobs doesn't care about her baby. Why do you think she's working those 2 jobs? Why do you think she can't show up at the meeting? Because she is doing it. She is fighting. Yep. And you know what? Mamas like yours that make mamas like you and me, that in this moment leading up to Mother's Day, we got to honor them and recognize them and what they taught us. Our friend Marisol is always talking about our ancestors and how
I love her.
I do. I love. She is my heart, and it's so true. We are we are our ancestors' greatest dreams. And we've got to be in this fight to fight for our children and not give up, no matter what craziness. A pandemic, Donald Trump, whatever we're getting thrown at us, we don't have the luxury of making this a hobby. These are our babies we're talking about.
Exactly. That's the most important thing, is the knowing that at the end of the day, if as a mother, there's no right or wrong when it comes to how you assess the situation about your particular child. You know what I mean? And moms need to know that. Parents in general, dads too. I don't want to exclude them, and guardians.
Absolutely, because our families are intersectional. They look different. They are different. Sometimes it's auntie, sometimes it's your uncle, sometimes it's abuela who's families care deeply about our children, and they need to be respected, and their voices and perspective are so important. So, Miss Deborah, we wanted to lift you up this morning and what you appreciate it. We love that you're starting your organization, and we're here for you. If there's anything that we can do to help you, in your journey to lift up the voices of parents in Troy, you got solidarity across this country. We all started off, with an idea of, how do we get more mamas? How do we get more daddies together, so that their voices are heard, so we can make some changes for our babies. And we just love that you're doing it. So thank you so much for joining us this morning.
I appreciate you guys so much. You guys don't even know. You guys give me a lot of fuel. Like my car sometimes be running out of gas, and I can watch these lives and okay, get going. You don't have no excuses. So I appreciate it.
All got your back, because we all go through those days where we're like, oh, I don't know if I can do this one more day, and then we find each other. And that's the important part of having this network and having this solidarity together. What you go through is the same thing that we go through, and if we can share that together, the problem's cut in half, and we can really start moving forward, because we can't give up. So important.
Yes.
Deborah, thank you so much for being with us. Deborah Garrett.
Thank you.
Troy, New York. I should say the honorable former city councilor of Troy, New York, joining us, and she is in the fight. She's starting her brand new organization. I love it.
It's like Supermom episode today.
That's right.
This is great.
Supermoms across the country.
That's right.
Speaking truth to power, getting in the mix, and you're going to see more of us in the mix as we develop our parent bill of rights. We're going to talk about our terms, about what we want to see from these systems as they make plans.
Since no one is asking us, we'll just
don't
let people know.
You don't have to ask us. We'll let you know how we feel.
And on that note, everyone have a great day. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to our guests.
More
and tune in
tomorrow.
Bye, guys.
See you then.